Back here on News at Prime this week, beloved TV maths and science teacher William Smith passed away. He hosted a televised learning program at the public broadcaster for years, reaching millions of viewers across the country. Smith was awarded by President Cyril Ramaphosa for his contribution to the education sector. He lost the battle with cancer on Wednesday after a short illness. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Blade Nzimande, is joining us now to reflect on this loss. Minister, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time, however, be it under such circumstances as well, where we're going to reflect on this life. Many are saying he is remembered as a teacher of the nation. Others are saying a beloved teacher, massive contributions he's made to education, favorite teacher of many matriculants, particularly through his television program. What is your reflection on this life?
Thanks, Thabo. Good evening to you and your listeners and viewers. Firstly, I would say that I really do agree. I want to start by expressing my own condolences to the family of Mr. Smith, as well as colleagues whom I still have been working with. Indeed, he was a teacher of the nation. He did a lot of things. You know, I was listening, for instance, to some testimonies of young people who are now professionals from deep in the rural areas who managed to have access to some television. And sometimes school principals or maths teachers would organize that they would actually watch TV and his lessons. That he made mathematics simpler, far less complex, exciting and challenges, making a number of them actually to choose to follow both maths and science. So that was a real major contribution that he made. But what I would perhaps like to focus on more, Thabo, is that what lessons can we learn out of this?
Yeah, indeed.
As South Africa today? I think that is the challenge that we have. Firstly, we still do have a major challenge, especially amongst Black school learners who are afraid of maths and science today. To actually say to them, let's learn from what Mr. Smith did, that we need not fear mathematics and science. In fact, it can be very exciting subjects if taught properly and also if you have got interest in it and so on. That is very important. For example, we have decided with my Deputy Minister, Ms. Nomalungelo Kina, that one of the things we're going to be focusing on in the next 5 years of the 7th administration is really to tackle this fear of mathematics, especially amongst young Black learners, you know, in South Africa.
Yeah.
But the other lesson that we need to be learning out of this, I would like to say, Thabo, is the partnership between government and media, or between our educational institutions and media, for media to actually be a platform for education. Mm-hmm. That's what we are supposed to be. Yes, through your news and other programs, we learn an education, but also it would be very good if we have partnership. Because that's the lesson we've learned out of this, that this partnership, for instance, with Mr. Smith and some of the broadcasters in the past really made a very, very huge impact, which is also linked to generally the role of media in education. We really need to reflect on that.
Yeah. Shouldn't
we be doing more in terms of partnership between education and media in order to be able to advance this? I may as well, Thabo, inform you, by the way, that I've been privileged that I've been asked by the World Association of Science Journalists to actually host their global conference, which they will be hosting for the first time in South Africa, in the African continent, that I be the chief host. Because one of the things that they are focusing on, which is important, is to promote science journalism. Because what Mr. Smith was doing was, to a large extent, part of what one would like to see in terms of science journalism. Yeah. We need more journalists who are focusing on science so that we are actually able to promote math and science in school. So this is these are some of the lessons that I would say we actually need to learn out of this stuff.
A legacy of immense impact. Two things that you're mentioning there, Minister, demystifying mathematics and science, taking the fear out of it, but also the partnership. How do you then suggest, as we follow on that legacy, that no one is left behind when it comes to these particular subjects?
Well, firstly, I think we need to learn lessons as to what is important that makes learners to understand maths and science better. I think that we need to reflect and analyze from Mr. Smith's lectures or lessons. You know, first you must make it exciting. Secondly, you must also use examples that relate to everyday things that happen in life. You know, usually I'm told that maths and science teachers who are good at that, at relating mathematics to the children's own environment, whether urban or rural, they actually tend to learn better, you know, in terms of doing these particular subjects. But also what I would say, you know, is that we need to take this issue as a national effort. Because, you know, we inherited a terrible, terrible legacy from Verwoerd, who said that black kids, there is no need to teach them mathematics. And because they will not be able to be engineers or anything, as black people, they're incapable, which was downright racist. And we are still faced with that particular problem. Look at what some of the things, in terms of anecdotes that happen in some schools, that, for instance, school principals will discourage learners when they are doing the last 2 years in matric at school to register for what is normally called pure mathematics and say, no, we take them to functional mathematics because those schools want to increase matric results to be good percentages. Because maths normally is a problem, you discourage as many kids to actually not do it and then direct them to functional mathematics. That is wrong.
Yeah.
We need to discourage that. We need to engage the teachers. We need to engage the educational institutions. That's where also the media actually has a role.
Yeah.
And be critical of such practices because they really do not help us. But we know for a fact that they actually happen. That is why one of the things that with my deputy minister that we've decided now is that actually our primary constituency now as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation are school kids.
Yeah.
That we actually are going to be focusing on science literacy. We are actually going to be reaching out to schools and working with the Department of Basic Education just to address these issues of mathematics. We are not saying that we are not going to be focusing, for instance, on university and research at master's and PhD levels, things that we do. But by the time you reach that, you should have had much better grounding, which is where the legacy of Mr. Smith actually remains very good. There's this lady, Snamelo Masambo, I'm sure you might have interviewed her at some stage, from Nongo, deep from the sticks, if you like, if you could call it that, in the rural areas. Today is a physicist. And she was saying the person who actually contributed a lot in helping her to understand maths and science better, and also in exciting her about maths and science better, was Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
That is why now, as we are aware, we were hosting some 2 weeks back, this International Astronomy Conference. We also made use of the fact that some of those best astronomers in the world, we took them to neighboring schools around Cape Town to go and talk to kids, excite them about stars, study of galaxies, you know, and so on.
Yeah.
That's all part of building on a legacy that Mr. Smith actually laid down.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, you've mentioned science journalism, you've mentioned the use of technology. I mean, others can look at what William Smith, at least at the time, what he was doing was a lot of innovation in as far as teaching is concerned. And many are looking at your department, especially being a Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, to say, what innovation are we bringing into our schools? Because if we bring that innovation, I'm sure the excitement that you're talking about will be a byproduct naturally with the younger generation.
Well, that's very important, Thabo. There are a number of things that we are doing. For instance, as I say, we are working with the Department of Basic Education to tackle the issue of maths and science. The other thing that we are doing, by the way, it's not the numbers that we want at the moment, but we are donating what we call computer labs, which also assist in terms of technology, advanced technology, to teach much more modern subjects like coding and all those things that are actually related in giving technological advance to youngsters. And by the way, we donate these computer labs, which we take containers, ordinary containers, and turn them into like stations with 20 or 30 computers, because we want to start them at primary school. That is where they must begin to understand technology. That is where also we need to focus on maths literacy and mathematics and science insofar as those things are concerned. So those are some of the things that we are doing as the Department of Education, of Science, Technology and Innovation. And that is why I was saying that for us with the Deputy Minister, we've said, actually, the school kids must be one of our primary targets, because by the time we try and address the problem, for instance, in matric or at university or at TVET colleges, by the way, for engineering programs in TVET colleges, for artisans, for fitters, for instance, for electricians and so on, you do need a very sound basis of mathematical knowledge. By the time we reach there, if we haven't done this at a lower level, we are not going to succeed. Yeah. So that is why also one of the things that we are looking at is how, even at higher levels, we don't give up. How do we ensure that we've got some kind of foundational mathematics, even at higher levels, entering university, entering TVET colleges, so that we are able to ensure that these subjects are actually quite strong. So there's lots that we are actually doing as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in terms of reaching out to schools and a lot of other work that, like we use this astronomy conference to excite children about astronomy.
Yes.
And tell them things they didn't know, by the way, that without astronomy, we wouldn't have had Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi derived from the study of and the GPS, by the way. The GPS also comes from the study of astronomy and so on. But these are practical things that we are using. But even if you are not pointing out at that, the fact that you are able to explain to you what astronomy is, where are the stars, the study of space, that in itself I've found tends to excite young people, that these are things we didn't know about, that our universe actually has got these particular features or not. Right. That is why then I'm saying we should and we want to build on the legacy that was set by Mr. Smith.
Perfect. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your reflection tonight. Let's leave it there, Minister of Innovation, Technology, as well as Sciences.